guys, welcome to the first video of 2024, and honestly, good to be back. I've been missing out creating content for you guys, and I feel like especially last year in 2023, I haven't been able to make too much just because I really dedicated 2023 to really just focus on college, just try to get most of my classes done, so that way I can graduate on time and graduate within 4 years, especially here at Sacramento State University with my bachelor's in computer science, which I hope to attain this May. And yeah, just being able to push through and just being able to dedicate all my hard work towards getting my degree. So I'm very excited for that to happen later this year. So that is one of the few things I'm looking forward to in 2024, but really just wanting to make 2024 one of the best years of my life, and also just getting back into traveling. I feel like traveling has been one of the biggest reasons to push me as a creative, especially starting off this year. I wanted to come by the beautiful Folsom Lake. Again, this has just been a staple of where I've come to film a lot of my videos, short films, so I absolutely love it here, and I just wanted to start out this year with a place that's super scenic and something that can really just get me back into my creative efforts. But besides being here at Folsom Lake, I definitely want to make this video towards a new smartphone that just came out into the market, which is indeed the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. So the phone is actually not for me, it is actually for my dad. This is actually gonna be my dad's first like legitimate premium smartphone. I don't think he's ever owned like a really expensive smartphone before, so he is officially making the upgrade. And personally for me, I do have the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. It is my main phone that I use, and seeing the S24 Ultra, it just feels like a refresh of the S23 Ultra. I feel like for most people that have either the S22 or the S23, I feel like there's not really going to be a need to upgrade to the latest S24, especially within the past couple of years. I know something that has been talked about a lot within the industry is AI, artificial intelligence. And of course, making this video about the new Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, it is definitely one of the biggest things that Samsung has upgraded from the S23 Ultra to the S24 Ultra. And ultimately, we're going to be covering the subject of, is AI smartphones going to be the new era of smartphones? Ultimately, how AI is just going to be integrated into our everyday lives. So it's definitely a big topic, but especially with the new S24 Ultra, it is one of those things that I definitely want to talk about. All right, so let's go pick up the Galaxy S24 Ultra. We just finished unboxing the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, and I gotta say, first impressions of the S24 Ultra is that it definitely just feels like a more modern design from last year's device with the S23 Ultra. Having them side by side, like if I were to keep them like quite a bit further away, and if I had to say which one is S24 and which one's S23, I'd probably get it wrong, and honestly they just look so identical that it's just really hard to tell which one is which. One of the biggest physical differences between both devices is that now the S24 Ultra is officially the first Ultra device to completely get rid of the Edge display. And I know a lot of people are actually pretty happy that the Edge display is officially gone. With the iPhone 15 Pro Max, one of the biggest features that Apple really wanted to push with this phone was the fact that this phone has a titanium frame. So it is pretty evident that Samsung likes to take a lot of notes from iOS and with iPhones, and also vice versa. I think Apple and just the iPhone brand itself likes to take a lot of ideas from Samsung. So it is one of those things where both companies kind of just build on top of one another just to get the best ideas out of both worlds. But getting into the cameras between the S23 Ultra and the S24 Ultra, when it comes to the main camera, they are both 200 megapixel sensors for that wide angle lens. As far as the regular telephoto lens, they are both 10 megapixel telephotos, but the biggest difference in the cameras physically between the S24 Ultra and the S23 Ultra comes down to that periscope telephoto lens. So when it comes to the S23 Ultra, it is a 10 megapixel sensor, whereas the S24 Ultra is a 50 megapixel sensor. So you're definitely getting a bit more megapixels. So there is going to be a lot more detail that is captured in the S24 Ultra. Now, does that make it better than the S23 Ultra? In certain cases, yes. I feel like for detail and resolution, I think the S24 Ultra is going to come a lot more handy, but especially in low light performance, there might be some benefits having a lower megapixel sensor with the S23 compared to the S24. But the biggest difference is when it comes to that optical zoom. So the S23 Ultra can get up to a 10 times optical zoom. Again, keep in mind it is a 10 megapixel sensor, whereas the S24 Ultra only has a 5 times optical zoom. In reality, both phones have their own advantages over the other. I will say that the S24 Ultra is probably going to be the winner in this scenario because sure, you may not be getting the full 10 times zoom as the S23, but in terms of detail and just overall quality of the image, I do believe it's going to look a lot better on the S24 Ultra. I feel like in terms of video, they are pretty much identical when it comes to all of the cameras. I think the only difference from what I've seen is that The S24 Ultra is capable of 4K at 120 frames per second, which is the first time that we're seeing that, because with the S23 Ultra and previous smartphones, it's only been able to get to 4K 60 frames per second. So the fact that we're going from 4K 60 to 4K 120 is also quite a bit of a noticeable jump, and that is one of the few things. All right, so now that we have the iPhone 15 Pro Max up against the S24 Ultra, I will say in terms of photos, I really do think that the S24 Ultra just gets the overall victory in this category, just because in terms of the clarity and detail in the photos, I just feel like the S24 Ultra really captures in a lot more detail, and especially when you do get that 5-10 times, and even obviously you're getting way more, especially because of that periscope camera. I just feel like the S24 Ultra really just takes it home, whereas with the 15 Pro Max, yes, you can go up to that 5x zoom, and you do have a digital zoom up to 25x, but even when you get to that digital zoom, it just really starts to become a lot more lackluster, and you can't really rely on it, especially if you want to capture in a lot more detail. But I will say the 15 Pro Max is still really good for photos, especially when it comes to its ability to handle HDR. I think that's something that iPhones have usually been known to do a really good job, especially within the past few years. However, when it comes to video, it is definitely a different side, because as I mentioned previously, the iPhone 15 Pro Max is easily one of the best video taking smartphones you can buy, especially in 2023 and now in 2024. Again, I am excited to see what Apple is going to do with their upcoming iPhones down the line. So in terms of the videos that we took with both the 15 Pro Max and the S24 Ultra, we did do some tests in 4K 24 against both of them. We did both ProRes log and non-ProRes log on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And of course, with the Galaxy S24 Ultra, since it is an 8K capable device, we did do some tests in 8K 24 frames per second and putting them against the two. And I will say, again, in terms of video, the iPhone usually takes the victory in this. I will say it definitely feels a lot more detailed, whereas the S24 Ultra really starts to crumble in the shadows and in the contrast. It still definitely picks up a lot of detail, but just when you start putting it up against the 15 Pro Max, you can just definitely tell how much Apple has improved in terms of their video capable performance in that scenario. But the main thing that Samsung has released with the S24 Ultra alongside it is Galaxy AI. Now also keep in mind, when I am talking about an AI smartphone, there isn't necessarily anything built in within the hardware for the S24 Ultra that makes it specifically AI. Now when it comes to Galaxy AI on the S24 Ultra, really the main two things that it's covering is going to be live translation. So especially if you're out and about and if you need a translator, I feel like that live translation with AI is just going to be really beneficial. But the bigger thing with Galaxy AI that a lot of people have been using is when it comes to generating photo and just content-aware fill when it comes to taking photos. So it is one of those things where if you are taking a photo of someone or something, and if there is something that you just want to erase within the image, you can pretty much just highlight the thing that you want to erase and delete it, and then you can do a generative fill where it kind of figures out the stuff around your scene, and it will actually create a virtual implementation of what it would look like if that image wasn't there. So there are definitely some issues when it comes to Galaxy AI when it comes to the future of it, because there are actually a lot of reports going on right now where Galaxy AI is only going to be remaining free until 2025. So the fact that it's only really this year in 2024 and majority of next year that we are going to be getting capabilities of Galaxy AI for free, and the fact that it's going to be behind a paywall afterwards, it's kind of a bit more of a downside, but I kind of understand Samsung's reasoning for doing this, because I think they want to get users more accustomed to working with this software. So that way, once Galaxy AI becomes a bit more of a paid version, it's just going to make a lot of users being like, maybe I will subscribe to the service, or it could detract a lot of people utilizing the service as well. So it is hard to tell if the previous smartphones are going to be getting it. I can definitely see the S23 Ultra getting the feature, because when it comes to a performance standpoint with the processor and just the internals, the fact that it's very similar to the S24 Ultra kind of just makes it feel like the S23 Ultra should get Galaxy AI. But again, that is completely dependent on Samsung, whether or not they will do that. My overall thoughts on the S24 Ultra, I feel like now in 2024, I feel like a lot of us can just agree that we've reached what peak smartphone can be like. And I feel like what Samsung is doing with Galaxy AI is just going to open the doors to other manufacturers as well when it comes to smartphones, just to showcase that when it comes to third-party applications, those are things that you can implement within your smartphone. And I think the introduction of Galaxy AI and AI within smartphones isn't necessarily changing exactly the way how the smartphone works, but I think it's just what we do as individuals. It's just going to change of how we interact with them. So Galaxy AI and what Samsung has done with this new platform is going to introduce a lot of competition, and I think Apple is going to start taking notes from what they're doing and just implementing that within their own smartphone. And I think it's just going to get to a point where we're not even going to need third-party applications anymore. I think it's just going to become its own ecosystem ecosystem of softwares that we can just use, whether it's free or paid. I think it's just something that's going to come later down the line. So that is going to do for us on today's video with the Galaxy S24 Ultra. If you guys have any questions about the S24 Ultra or just anything more that I haven't talked about, or just even having a conversation about AI, definitely let me know down in the comments below. I'm more than happy to respond to you guys there. And again, first video in 2024. Very excited to see what the future brings, and just really excited to see what this year has in store for us. So make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.